Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Sergeant at Arms or designee, has the front lobby been attended to ensure public access? Thank you. The school board meeting of September 20th, 2022 is now called to order. The time is 6 p.m. There will be no student performance today due to the Design and Dreams Gallery. The Design and Dreams of Young Artists Concepts was created by former Lee County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. James A. Adams. It was his vision to provide a gallery to publicize, display the finest of our students' artwork. Each year, the artwork of the district office is changed out with new pieces that highlights the talent of our art education programs. The first art exhibition opened in 1992 and was quickly recognized as the largest display of student artwork in the state of Florida. Today, it still holds the distinction. The gallery is open to the public today from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And again, it's right out in the atrium area. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the member of the public's of the district vision, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential, and the district vision to be a world-class school system. This evening agenda includes invocation, presentation of color, and pledge of allegiance, public comments, consent action items, which include 2 items under board office, 5 items under academic services, 1 item under business services, 1 item under human resources, 14 items under operations, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to adopt the agenda as printed.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. May I have a second?
I'll second. Morgan.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Okay, it has been moved by Ms. Fisher and seconded by Ms. Morgan. Please record your vote. I believe we're waiting for Ms. Giovanelli.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, a 7-0, motion carries. Mrs. Gittens will lead us in the invocation, after which Ms. Fisher will lead us in the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Gittens, please lead us in the invocation.
Please stand. By their fruit you will know them. Love. I pray that we love what we do and do what we love and love our neighbors. Joy. I pray for happiness from the heart and committed to helping others be happy. Peace. I pray we search fervently for ways to agree with others. Patience. I pray we can hold our tongues, empathize, and try to understand those that don't look or think like us. Kindness. I pray we simply acknowledge that kindness means giving of self. Goodness. I pray we learn to define good as a global term, not just our individual beliefs, because there's good in everyone. Faithfulness. I pray we are faithful, honest, and true to what is best for the whole. Gentleness. I pray we learn to work gently with each other. listening and understanding before judging. Self-control. I pray we live like the camera is always on and the mic is always live. I pray that we be an example. Lord, I pray you recognize us by our fruit. Self-control, gentleness, faithfulness, goodness, kindness, patience, peace, joy, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Ms. Fisher?
Yes. Introducing the cadet who is presenting the national colors for our Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Master Sergeant Pierre Barabee, Army instructor from Dunbar High School. Master Sergeant Barabee served 24 years in the Army in numerous assignments and retired as the senior military instructor at the University of Minnesota Army ROTC program. This is Master Sergeant Barabee's 6th year as a JROTC instructor. Welcome.
Thank you. Presenting the national colors tonight is Cadet Colonel Jasmine Seda, the Cadet Brigade Commander of Dunbar High School Junior ROTC. Cadet Seda is a member of the National Honor Society varsity volleyball football team and is currently enrolled in the International Baccalaureate program with a GPA of 4.73. She is actively involved in many junior ROTC teams and is the commander of the drill team competing at the state level. Cadet Seda also serves as the youth president at her church. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. This evening's student representative is Christopher Mancello. Christopher is a junior at Bonita Springs High School. He also is the president of Bonita Springs High HOSA chapter, a member of the Lee County Teen Court, and the section leader in the Bonita Springs Marching Band. Christopher currently has a 4.0 unweighted GPA. He is dual enrolled at FGCU as part of Bonita Springs Collegiate Academy and Cambridge ACE and AP student. Please welcome Christopher. Welcome, Christopher. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Ms. Dupree Bruno, please address the item of public comment.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a public comment card, please put it in the basket provided. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff. The rules concerning public comment are posted in and will be made from the podium in the front center aisle. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Abusive language is prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, unreasonably loud and/or offensive language, swearing, cursing, or display of temper during the public comment period is prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers. We will take recesses as necessary if there's not decorum. Per Board Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20, 2 minutes if there are 30, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screen in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. I will call you 5 speakers at a time. Please follow staff's direction when lining up. Madam Chair, there are 9 speakers that wish to address the board this evening, and it's 3 minutes per speaker.
Thank you. Let's see. Please make sure you have completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comments. The card is a public record identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The cards are located in the hallway with staff. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board but did not fill out a comment card? Okay, Mr. Bruno, please go ahead and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will the following individuals please line up? Christy DiVigili, Sharon McGill, Robert Roper, Marina De Silva, Tara Jenner.
She doesn't want to go first. Okay. Can I move this closer, or can you hear me?
Yes, we
do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Tara Jenner, please provide an outline of exactly how the Neola numbering system works. The current board policies make it clear that Chapter 1 is with board government, Chapter 2, school administration, Chapter 3, curriculum and instruction, and so forth. But the Neola numbering system is a mystery to all of us. If it already exists, please direct me to where I can find that. A graph or chart would be extremely helpful. Also, it's very difficult when listening to the workshop and these are being discussed to differentiate between when you're talking about policies and bylaws. You just use numbers and we're not necessarily hearing clearly on the audio recording or in the chambers which one it is that you're talking about at a given time. I also respectfully request that the old numbers or current policies and bylaws are cross-referenced when we ultimately update everything so that we can see an archive of where things came from and where they are now, because sometimes things will apply to the way things were at the time that they existed rather than the new policies. I'm going to use numbers that you guys gave. 166, you were talking about exempt meetings. An issue came up about sweeping the room to confirm that there was nobody else there. Just be advised, my understanding is this could be a potentially privacy information for the particular member, and one of the reasons why virtual participation is rife with problems. So if you haven't already concurred on it, when you ultimately agree, I suggest that you have it so that you reschedule any of those meetings so that it can be done with everybody in the chambers at the time. 166.1, dealing with workshops, I think it's absolutely imperative that no formal action be taken and that a consensus vote be limited to whether or not it goes forward to a regular meeting or not. A vote by any other name is still a vote, even if you call it not so, and it's nothing but subterfuge when you vote in chambers during a workshop without public comment and then you just sort of rubber stamp it. 167, paragraph 2, there was a discussion about calling roll call voting. When you're watching online, we can't see your thumbs, and you don't specify who votes which way. If there's not a unanimous vote, we can't tell, and the stuff that's on the screen doesn't show. When there's a conflict of interest, my recommendation is that you table that particular item until you get a decision from the Commission on Ethics, and the people that have the authority to ask for consideration on that include other board members as well as the public and not just the individual. I did take an awful lot of offense about the way that you were talking about new board members coming on in the future, assuming that they're idiots and micromanaging how they would be able to handle and address things. There's just so much that I would like to do, so I'm going to probably go ahead and forward this in an email. I would appreciate comments back from you that you actually bothered to read it. Thank you so much.
Speak slower, dear.
Thank you.
You can play it on replay.
Good evening, Sharon McGill. I'm going to go back to the workshop from last week on policies, and I'd just like to say that I was really encouraged by comments that were made about enforcing policy provisions in these open meetings. And I mean, right now, that's pretty quiet, but we know what has happened, and it's encouraging to know that you're really seriously thinking about going forward. Also mentioned at that meeting was having a fact check provision, which is a great idea, because I don't know anyone who wouldn't want to know the truth. And so by fact checking, it eliminates the possibility of misinformation and disinformation being put out to the public in the school board's forum. And I was listening today about the proximity plan, and I'm not quite sure the general public understands the logistics of that and what really has to go into it. I mean, just from the standpoint of scheduling, but it was also brought up about how all of the in-house computer systems have to be updated. And it's just, change is going to be hard no matter what. And not everyone is going to be happy, but you were saying today, it's what's in the best interest of the children. And being on a bus for 4 hours a day is not in the best interest of the children. So there are going to be people who are not going to be happy with this. But I think overall, the way that you're approaching it and getting the public involved and trying to do what's best for the kids is really admirable, because this is a huge project if you know anything about logistics. So thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Good evening. My name is Marina. I am a student at South Fort Myers High School. Ever since I had a problem there and Jacqueline's parents and Mr. Chuck Bradley helped me, I have become interested in watching board meetings and being more involved because I saw what can happen and how hard it is to get help. What I noticed that really bothered me is that for a very long time you have many things coming out on TV, and I watched the behaviors of one of the board members behaving and speaking like a bully. That board member is Chris Patrica. I feel she's not a good example for the students in our district with her attitudes and her actions, and how she speaks to some board members and the public. I am embarrassed for her, and that is what I wanted to express tonight. That we, the students, are watching all of you and how you behave and how you treat people who help us, like Jacqueline Paris and Chuck Bradley. I am super thankful for Jacqueline and Chuck for all they've done for me, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Christy DiVigili. So this is going to be awkward, so I'm going to do the good thing first. I really enjoyed Dr. Malloy's proximity plan presentation earlier in the briefing. I think Dr. Malloy, along with his team and Dr. B, have come up with a great starting point for bringing a neighborhood school plan to Lee County students and families. I would like to see the board not get so caught up in minor details, like getting the word out for community involvement, and trust Dr. Malloy and his team to adequately, take care of that. Now on to the awkward part, because I did not know that was coming before this, but Board Member Patrica is requesting that her legal fees be paid from a complaint filed by Denise Nystrom and another by Jacqueline Perez. The board then gave a directive to the attorney to create a policy for situations like this, which is not really necessary. State law allows municipalities to cover reasonable legal expenses associated with ethics complaints for public officials if the ethics charge arose from the performance of of the official duties and while serving a public purpose. To this date, Board Member Patrica has cost our district millions of dollars for her part in initiating the canceling of the Oaks Farms contract. She also has been the only board member against mediating with Oaks and has made several statements in the community that she wants to drag this out in order to waste his money to ensure he loses. Board Member Patrica is the only board member that has been given her own private attorney, which has become a cost to the taxpayers. She was a catalyst for the school being built in Estero with expenditures and losses of over $20 million. We bought 2 properties, we failed to sell the property, made a deal of $17 million because this particular board member wanted to keep the land. We hired architects and had drawings and surveys done, hired Johnson Engineering, ordered steel worth more than $4 million, and now renting a facility in order to store it. district. This is all a bunch of employee time and labor loss as well. Patrica was the biggest offender and advocate in selling a property on Tower Road, which Ms. Giovanelli fought against. And with the help of another realtor, Ms. Roush, we found evidence that the district was upside down on this deal. The deal was stopped, but not after thousands of dollars were needlessly spent on surveys and attorneys. My question to the board is, why should we pay for this when someone who has mismanaged money so greatly for our district and our children and our taxpayer dollars? I urge you all to reconsider. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Miranda Cummings, Bill Hopman, Lou Navarro, Jacqueline Perez, Kim Hart.
Robert Roper. I have a question for you. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? This is a thought experiment that raises questions regarding both observation and perception. Observation and perception. It is perception of the district that if a parent wants to protect his or her child from certain media or library materials, all he or she needs to do is to block that book by title in the child's Destiny account. It is the observation, however, that, like the sound of the tree makes in falling of the forest, it is actually impossible, I repeat, impossible for the parent to protect her child from media material if the parent does not know the title of the books or that they even exist. It's impossible for the parent to reasonably be informed about the thousands of titles in the library. But imagine a solution that, number one, protects all children. Number two, it puts the parent in the driver's seat. Number three, it does not ban or censor a single book, including the classics. The district has banned or censored 2 books already. It reduces the district's liability while facilitating compliance with the new parental rights laws. Number 5, it removes the totally subjective nature in which books are now being judged, while some are taken away and others retained. We have waited 6 months for a simple yes or no answer. I got the answer tonight as the meeting was being convened, that the answer was no to our proposal on tagging books. Collier County has tagged 100 with a parental advisory notice, 100 books in their Destiny account. We know the Destiny account has its capabilities because the ad hoc committee recommended for the book of drama for 4th grade and above, a notice to be placed in the Destiny and labels be put on the books. How is a parent supposed to know the title Worm Loves Worm is a book about gay marriage that is illegal in the classroom but is in the library? How does a parent know that book exists if they don't know the title? Our proposal to tag books is a no-brainer. I do not understand why it cannot be adopted. I was prepared to read some other very objectionable books that passed the muster of the ad hoc committee, but I chose not to today. Thank you.
Miranda Cummings. Many of you received an email from me over the weekend. I was pleased to hear on Monday that none of the original Lee Virtual teachers have been removed from their positions at Lee Virtual. I don't know who to thank for that, so I will just thank you all. Thank you. Unfortunately, there seems to be some certainty that in these adjustments in our school are not over. I have been informed that more adjustments may come later in the year. Undoubtedly, it will come as students fall off again second semester because they do not care or they are not cared for and do not appreciate what Lee Virtual provides. And who can blame them at this point? This seems to have become an ongoing theme for this school over the past few years, a problem that did not happen in greater numbers as it does now prior to the school district revamping that school. I would be failing our students and the teachers that have diligently worked there for so long if I didn't continue to point out that you all have made a tremendous mess out of what was a great school. That may be my opinion, but I believe that as a taxpayer and as a parent, my opinion matters. We have waited 3 years, 3 very long years, for this school to return to its former glory, like the rest of the schools in the district. Unfortunately, we have not had that happen yet. You need to give our school back to the teachers that built it, back to the Miss Downeys and Miss Averys, back to the Miss Moores that literally bent over backwards for these kids, back to the Mr. McKinleys and Miss Skolnicks that took the extra time to make sure these kids got one-on-one attention in a virtual setting. You need to give this school back to the students that attend this school. Give back their opportunity to come in face-to-face and have time with other students and staff. Give them back the time that when they weren't just another number or checked box like they seem to be now. They were real, and the teachers cared about each and every student's success and failure. It may have been mainly virtual, but what separated Lee Virtual from the rest of the schools was that they had the ability to come together one-on-one and do so with a genuine care and devotion to the students. I'm almost out of time. I will be emailing you guys the rest of this. I know that some of you didn't get my previous email. If you ask your partners next to you, you might be able to get that. I would also encourage you all to read the reviews online about Lee Virtual School since the pandemic started. You guys are failing the school, and those teachers desperately want to get it back to our students.
Good evening. Lou Navarre, 48-year resident, 30-year Teacher Association member, retired. How we doing on my pay raise for the teachers to $60,000 and perks? I presented 2 presentations, and I'm showing you how to pay for it. Let's look at a couple things, but I want to say, Kathleen Morgan, you are excellent. COVID's not over. You're smart. And I'm using up my seconds. TALC, collective bargaining, now collaborative bargaining is all begging. I'm still disturbed that the board is meeting out of the sunshine with President Daly and Executive Director Frazzoni. You discriminated against Miss Gittens, and I have all the public records. Where are the stalwarts of the union? They don't have to come here anymore like they used to. Now, I am very concerned that you grandfathered in the union dues with my taxpayers' dollars. I don't want that. I want the money to go to teachers. Public records can't even find it. I want to know. Superintendent, I want to know. Let's talk about the guest teachers. 300 unfilled positions approximately every day. 300 no teachers that you need to hire, right? Pay the guest teachers $200 and skip the Ben-Corps baloney and give them Social Security. And pay the teachers. You're not listening, folks. The students are suffering, not you. You got your fat pay raises. The administrators that sit here downtown, they got their 6 figures. We know the drill. Now, I would like to see the administration except superintendent and the secretaries to substitute 1 day a week, plus you board members. Let's see how you do, okay? We won't catch you down there. I promise you, we won't see you. But Dr. Bernier needs to run the district and the secretaries, but all of you need to be down there like my friend Dr. Spiro, my friend Roger Lloyd, et cetera, help out. Now, Dr. Bernier, I have a hope for you. You got to be the most decent superintendent they've hired. I may not vote for an elected superintendent by my buddy Spencer Roche. Thank you. And I'm glad you're having.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Thank you.
Thank you. When you guys ever gonna learn what a sad state of
Thank you, Mr. Navarro.
for the students?
Thank you, Mr. Navarro.
Talk about students. We're
Tomorrow, we're going to have the majority.
Oh, come on, Jesus. You're not trouble with me. See, I don't appreciate it. And you won't even tell me what the relationship is between you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bill Hopman. I'm from Bonita Springs. I've been there a little over 30 years now. My daughter graduated from Estero High School a long time ago. I know I'm kind of getting old, and I know I talk funny, but broken clock is right twice a day, and this is my one time for today, the 2 times. The most powerful thing in the universe is a spoken word, more powerful than a written word. I finally learning that after 72 years. I prayed driving up here from Bonita, that something I would say would touch your heart. I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to be critical. I don't want to throw stones or anything, but I wrote down so much stuff here. I don't know. I'm not a Republican. My wife grew up in Southeast Florida, graduated over in South Dade over there, and none of that stuff really matters. I do have a university degree in economics from a really, really big school out of state from here. But I just want to say it's not right, the money that's being spent on all the legal fees. The attorneys are winning. I don't want to necessarily make attorneys mad, but I mean, they should be really happy with this Oaks thing that's going on with this lawsuit, and I really don't. I think it was like personal, political, you know, only y'all know the truth as to why it was really canceled, but I just don't think it was right, and I wish y'all would settle that. I don't know how, I'm not that smart, but it just, all the money is being spent. And I mean, what if it was your own money out of your personal budget? I mean, like taxpayer money is like not real money, but it really is tax to somebody. And I just challenge you to agree to disagree, maybe with some of the other board members, and do whatever you have to do to stop spending money for attorneys. And, you know, personal egos and agendas, I mean, I understand that. I've had that in my life. Just gotten me in trouble, relationships and stuff, but at some point, you know, you got to just do what's right. Y'all know what's right. And I am praying for y'all. I really, thank you.
Good evening, Board. I'm probably here a little bit early, but I heard my name called out. And when I hear my name called out, I immediately come. So last week, Chris Patrica thought she'd mentioned my name and another individual's name, which I don't appreciate. I'm really getting sick and tired of all the bullying tactics of Chris Patrica, and I thought I'd remind everyone of all the money that's being spent when we hired a personal attorney that's costing the district in the 6 digits for Chris Patrica's personal attorney in the Oaks case. And how about the money that was spent when the Oaks contract was canceled, when she said, "Hi, can we legally get out of this contract?" All the money that has been spent with all the mistakes and all the voting that she has done, we really need to take that into consideration. Now, going to the monies that she wants spent on her legal fees, here is the complaint, which I'm entering into the records, Ms. Bruno, so you could share it with the board. For you to make a decision, for you to vote on something, you need to know what the facts are. You need to look at the billing, you need to look at itemized cost, and you need to make sure that it's according to statute. She has to be in the performance of her duties. So make sure that what the allegations are were in the performance of her duties, and it was not. It doesn't apply, so she should not be reimbursed. Second, I'm going to enter in the records another ethics complaint that's alive and kicking. Since she wants to be so transparent, we're going to let this one come alive. And since Ms. Morgan wants to talk about investigations, let's be factual. The school district has a normalcy of not allowing investigations to go out to the OIG, to go out to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, to go out to the authorities. What you customarily do is you hire firms, attorney-employee firms, to investigate yourselves. So you pay these people $50,000, $85,000, and you think they're going to find you guilty of something? Baloney. They don't. And that's why this investigation of a whistleblower that's over here, which I'm going to enter into the records, which could have been written by a 15-year-old child. I have never seen a poorly documented investigation on the Public Records Department with so many grammatical errors and the individual employee names written incorrectly, and it was all based on statements. There were no phone records, no emails, no computer histories pulled. How the hell do you do an investigation? You have cops in here. They can tell you how an investigation is done. It's not by just asking Joe Schmo, what did you do today?
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Thank you, Ms. Perez.
You may not like Jacqueline Perez, but you have to admire her passion.
Mr. Hart, could you please state your name?
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Kim Hawk, and I'm so happy that our new superintendent has been on television addressing issues, because for the past 5 years, all we've seen on TV is Rob Spicker, a professional newscaster who was hired by the district. There's a term called regulatory capture, and it applies to mostly the federal agencies, but it can apply to any government agency that realizes the best way to steer an agency is to take it over. And this district has done an outstanding job of embedding the news people. I think there's news people back here somewhere. We don't get to see them because we're just regular folks. And we have, this district has hired police and media people to insulate itself and to control the message that's being delivered. Now, just recently, Wink News broke ranks and ran a story that was critical of the Greenwell family for their corruption, for inventing a business a few weeks before the bids went out. And of course, they got the contract worth millions of dollars. And
There are a long list of people. Unlike Bill, I am willing to name names, and you know, the name that everyone is familiar with is Chris Patrica, and I don't hate Chris Patrica. In a way, I admire what she's been able to do. I admire her panache. She came down here from New York, reportedly because of high taxes and the nanny government, and came down here and immediately raised our taxes. And although everybody called it a half penny, it was actually a $350 million tax increase. And most of that money, regardless of how you hide it in your accounting, the money, at least part of the $2 billion that we spend every year, goes to a handful of vendors and contractors. Now, there's a reason why Jacqueline Perez gets death threats. She's had more death threats than she can count. Some are very specific and graphic. Ed Ciafani, one of the contractors, who is also a convicted criminal and shouldn't be allowed to be a vendor, he threatened her right in this hallway, threatened to kill her, and got right in her face, which is called assault, and there were witnesses, and there were no charges. Peter Zielinski is a dangerous felon. There's a video of Peter Zielinski punching his neighbor in the face.
Thank you, Mr. Hart, thank you.
And punching him again while on the ground.
Thank you, Mr. Hart.
It's Mr. Hawk.
Hawk, sorry.
Hawk.
3 minutes goes by very fast.
It does.
That concludes public comment.
Sorry to be such a downer, but Chris Patrica needs to go.
Mr. Newland.
Mr. Hawk, thank you.
That concludes public comment, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Bernier, would you like to address the, I'm not familiar with what just took place today with the Destiny accounts?
The academic services team, along with the ad hoc committee, has been working very diligently to find solutions so the parents can be informed as to what their children are checking out, and additionally provide direction to the individuals who do the checkout procedures in our media centers. You do not necessarily have to name a book by its title. It can be done by wizards, dragons. You can use any topic that you would like, and that would create an alert at the time of checkout that a student would need to get additional parental permission because the parent actually logs in through the student's launchpad. The information was reviewed with me and our staff for the first formal time in Cabinet on Monday of this week. We are in the process of putting together information for you as a board for your weekly update, and then I was going to ask you in your individual one-on-ones as we proceeded through before the weekend, as I do by telephone on the off weeks when we don't meet face-to-face, as to whether you would like this type of information to come forward for some type of workshop or briefing so that the public could be made aware. That's what I have regarding that particular issue, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I'm going to come back to you again. Ms. Cummings, I know she spoke regarding virtual, Leave Virtual, and I understand my grandkids were part of that as well, and they've had a rough couple of years with the COVID and everything else that has taken place with that school. We're planning on doing a workshop on what was going on with them. I know that was part of our list of to-dos, which has not come yet before us, and I just wanted, I know her children are there, and you know she's very concerned about that, and the teachers and everyone in there. I'm not sure of the revamping of the school. I know we got a new principal there. Is there any little highlights that you might want to share?
We have an amazing new principal at the virtual school. She comes with a great amount of experience from OCAMIC and a desire to embed herself. The same assistant principal who's led from that temporary principal position at the time that the original principal was removed and led them through the COVID period still remains on staff. I am reading between the lines of both the email and the information provided today. What all schools across our district did just after the Labor Day weekend holiday, they went through a recalculation based upon their student enrollment. We have to be able to provide teachers based upon the number of students enrolled, and the virtual school was down in terms of its enrollment for this year at this point. There are adjustments made at this time of the year at all of our schools, and the virtual school was trimmed or cut 3 positions, which you can either give up in various ways. You can give it up as people, you can give it up as dollars that may be in a contingency account, or you could look for vacancies and turn those vacancies in and say that you're no longer desirous to hire those. The principal is working through with the budget staff to make those decisions, and they're difficult no matter what school it occurs at, whether it occurs at an elementary or otherwise. I think we have a great opportunity to continue to re-envision what the virtual school can look like and what it can do. It was certainly taxed during the pandemic beyond what it was potentially capable of, from my understanding, and there really needs to be a coordinated response, and Dr. McMillan, I believe Dr. McMillan, Mrs. McMillan Barnes, will be the one who takes them through this transition and makes them an integral part of our entire approach, not just for full-time enrolled students, but opening up the part-time process and making sure we use it as a tool to provide greater opportunities for all the students within Lee County.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. And Ms. Dupree Bruno, as far as the Neola, right now we are currently on our bylaws. I just want to make sure that I'm stating the correct.
Right, so our current board policy, chapter 1, is our board governance policies, which Neola calls bylaws, but it's basically the same thing, they just call it bylaws. All of these documents will go through the regular rulemaking process, so they will be rules. The categories for Neola, the zeros are bylaws, the 1000s are administration, the 2000s are program, the 3000s are instructional staff, 4000s support staff, 5000s are the students, 6000s are the finances, 7000s are property, 8000s are operations, and then 9000s are the community relations. So when you see them, they're going to have 4 digits, because they'll be in the thousands, and those are the categories that will fall in to those particular policies.
We're not having conversations. You can send us whatever is needed, but the conversation back and forth.
And then with regards to, there were a couple of comments that Ms. Jenner made, if she wants to send that email, because I did not capture some of them. With regards to workshops, the proposed 166.1, the board is very keenly aware that consensus is not a vote and that they do not vote during workshops or in briefings, and they're modifying to ensure that they utilize consensus least amount of time as possible. So anything else, if you could send that to me, I'll be more than happy to respond.
Thank you. And I do have those down, 166 and 167, paragraph 2, voice versus thumbs up. So I do have those, which I could share. Also, I just want to say, spoken words are very powerful, so I do understand that. Proximity, we had our first, we rehashed that today. We came, Dr. Adam Malloy, I just lost my whole train of thought. I apologize for that. Shared how we're proceeding forward with Dr. B as far as proximity. So we're all really looking forward to that coming out. So thank you for comments on that. I will not speak on anything regarding my colleagues. And so with that, we will move forward to the next agenda item, which is the...
Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Before we move on, let me be more specific. I misstated in error the number of teachers that were cut based upon the enrollment at the virtual school. The number is not 3, it's 6.
Okay.
So I apologize for that mistake.
Thank you for clarification on that. Okay. The next is the approval of the action items in the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 business days prior to board meetings. We are expected to review all materials, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Ms. Fisher?
I have no polls this evening. Thank you.
Ms. Giovanelli?
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Gittens?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Vaughn?
I have no polls, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Morgan?
And I have none, thank you.
And I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with the, we have no exceptions. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda action items?
I move that we approve the agenda items as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. And please record your vote.
Mine hasn't come up.
Ms. Thomas, did you see Ms. Gittens? Thank you.
For the record, I vote yes.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Okay, we are now moving to other business, which we have none. So next is board member comments. Ms. Fisher.
The only thing I want to add to my comments of this afternoon is to thank Christopher Mansilla for being with us as our student rep tonight, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say. And thanks again to our staff for all of their work and diligence.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Giovanelli.
I just have a couple things. I mentioned earlier that it's Constitution Week, and a parent, or actually a community member, had been involved regarding Constitution Week and asked to be involved, and they participated this week, and they're participating throughout the week with dressing up as in a costume and going to some of the schools. And she just called me this afternoon to report back on some of the schools she attended and how wonderful the teachers in the schools were today. So I just wanted to give kudos out to Andrew Colvin of Dunbar Middle School. He's the 7th grade civics teacher there, and she said that it was it was overwhelming, their acceptance and the questions, and they loved the costumes. Mary Hood from Cape Elementary she also wanted to commend her and make it exciting for the elementary students to engage in the civics and the Constitution Week, as well as Elizabeth Forsyth of Orangewood Elementary School, and Joanne Payne, the librarian at Edison Park Elementary. So I just wanted to give kudos out to those teachers that involved and engaged their students. And I know there's more going on there. Her and her son are visiting several schools throughout the week. So I just wanted to give that quick update. And I just wanted to welcome Christopher from Bonita, and you have a wonderful credentials. So exciting to see students that we are educating and the product of the fruits of our labor. So thank you. I wanted to bring up the Acceleration Academy tonight, because that was a contract that was passed this evening, and this has been a very long overdue work in progress, and I want to commend staff and thank them, and I look forward to them working with the Acceleration Academy and getting those students that we weren't able to get across the finish line, that the Acceleration Academy will do that. I think it's exciting because It's not what it's not is not a charter school. It's a program, and it's not a GED program. It's an actual program that students that, for whatever reason, were unable to graduate, and it allows them to do it at the age of 20 or 21. They will actually receive a diploma, not a GED certificate. They will actually have an actual diploma. And this company goes out and knocks on doors and finds those students that, for whatever reason, think that their diploma was long gone. And it brings it back to the forefront for them to be educated in and meet the requirements needed to receive that diploma. So I'm very excited about that, because for me as a board member, this is what it's all about, is to graduate those students that otherwise maybe wouldn't graduate, and they did not have the foresight or the ability to navigate the system at a time in their life when they needed the guidance and probably didn't have it. So they're going to find those students, and I'm excited to see those numbers and the data that comes from that when we graduate students that may never would have received an actual diploma. So, and I just wanted to thank everybody that worked hard on that over the past several years, because I know it was a work in progress, and I really appreciate the work that was done to get us there. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. Ms. Patrica?
So my elected versus appointed facts for the evening are going to bring us back to 1974. November 1st, 1974, the news press offered an opinion. The title of that opinion piece was Professionalism for School System. You can look it up, it's in the archives. And what they were looking at back then was a growing school district, and they were concerned that an elected process wouldn't bring the level of professionalism necessary to handle a growing school system. Let us look at the size and scope of the district then compared to now. 1974, I don't know where we were ranked in terms of size in the state of Florida, because we didn't keep those records then, but today we are the 9th largest school district in the state of Florida. 1974, we didn't keep records on how big we were compared to other districts across the country, but today we are the 33rd largest school district in the country. 1974, we had a $60 million budget. Today, as you all know, we have a $2.4 billion budget. 1974, we had 26,000 students. Today, we have 103,000 plus students. Back in 1974, we had 40 schools, 40. Today, we have 120. Back in 1974, we had 2,600 employees. Today, we have 13,000 plus. We were concerned about professionalism in what was a growing school district back in 1974. Not only are we massive now, but we continue to grow as well. I offer you those facts as you make your considerations heading into the ballot box in November. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens?
Okay,
Please.
thank you. First, I'd like to say to Mr. Hopman, thank you for your honesty and sincerity and just speaking from the heart. We never can have enough of people speaking what's really on their heart, from their heart, and thank you for that. I didn't get to, let me do this one first. So Constitution Week has been brought up, and I got an opportunity to go to Varsity Lakes Middle in Ms. Combs' class, and to help pass out constitutions and help them celebrate Constitution Day and all. And she has been teaching this class for 3 years plus. And as I was listening to her and the intent of the students that were paying attention and taking it all in, and I thought about how sometimes we are, as a school district, accused of not teaching children all of the things that we need to do about our government. And I challenge you, and if you like, I'll go with you, to visit Ms. Combs' class, and for just to listen at how she brings it all to life. I was really excited. At one point, they were talking about the Constitution, and on their Chromebooks, they pulled up like a 3D version, and they could manipulate it, kind of like Zillow when you're looking at a house, and they could look through the National Archive Museum. There was even a picture of like George Washington and some of the other founding fathers, and they had a question about their costumes. So the kids were looking at what they wore and kind of determining like who were the leaders and what things came to mind by looking at them and their costumes of the day. It was, to me, and I thank you so much to Ms. Combs and to Principal Lee Master for letting me attend that. And if you ever get the opportunity, it is education at its best to see what our kids are learning, how involved they are, how technology is used in it, and it was really fabulous, so thank you for that. I didn't get to go to the Lehigh Senior game with ESPN, and I'm sure some of you that did will bring it up and talk about it, but I just wanted to give them a shout out and thank them for putting us on the map with ESPN. The next thing is, I have a question for the superintendent, if I may, about the teachers that were cut in Lee Virtual. Were they offered or allowed to move to other schools in the district? Were they given an opportunity and said, these are openings here, these are opportunities? And if you can't answer, you can...
I can answer, I just need to make sure that a caveat that I will actually need to confirm because of the number, but with the number of vacancies we have and where their certifications lie, they would have been offered opportunities for employment in another location, and should enrollment arise, they would be allowed to come back, that they could apply to come back. So if this is their passion and their desire, they will have opportunities in the future. And I think as our Lee Virtual School continues to expand under the leadership of our new principal with more part-time and other full-time enrollees, we will be needing more and more teachers at our virtual school. And I look forward to a conversation, but I would need to confirm with Mr. Dodig. I can probably get that by text before we close out the evening to make sure that I'm 100% accurate that those teachers would have had an opportunity to continue their employment with the school district of Lee County.
And usually, I know when I was teaching, and at the end of the year, if you were displaced, you had options to go to a different location if you chose to do so. I just wanted to thank you for bringing that up. Next, with all of the issues and things that we have gone through this week with safety and security, I think it was Thursday night, I put out something on social media and asked the question to parents and guardians, when was the last time you checked your student's backpack? I got some very interesting answers, but the majority of the answers were from those that do check their child's backpack and do ask them questions. But the interesting thing was, it was, oh yes, every Friday or on Monday. And I'm going to follow through with it because there's another piece of it that we're going to put out there just to see what people say. In the time that we live in now, and especially in education, we hear a lot about parents' rights. And I continually say, when I talk about parents' rights, I talk about parents' responsibilities. And the age-old term about it takes a village, this is going to take a village to make sure that our children are safe. It's not just the SROs, it's not just the administrators or the teachers. It's going to take everyone to keep our children safe. And I want to say to parents, if you aren't checking backpacks or asking questions or, looking over their shoulder and saying, oh, who's that you're talking to on social media? Or, let's do this together. Or we've got to be involved. Like the superintendent said this afternoon in our meeting, that a lot of this comes from where the kids come from, in their community, in their homes and all. And I've always said that, elementary school parents are just right there. They're bringing cookies and cupcakes and all kinds of stuff, and they're every time they get a chance and oohing and eyeing over the stick figures. Middle school, they start to drop off a little bit. In high school, it's like, do you have a parent? So we have to realize our kids, they may tell you, no, don't come, this is embarrassing. But it's like they're saying, no, don't come, it's embarrassing, okay? But they are really wanting you to be there. And you can address this when you talk, that when you have kids and their parents show up, how they are excited. They are excited to have somebody to say that they are there, that they're proud of them and representing them. So my main thing is to parents, we all have to do this together. You have to ask questions. You have to check backpacks. You have to ask who are they on social media with. Because it starts at home. Thank you for letting me get that out. One of the other things I did on the weekend was saw a film called Hush. And it was written and produced by one of our very own teachers, Antoine Lindsay, that works at Varsity Lakes. Excellent documentary on mental health, especially in the minority communities, and the stigma that people have. It's like, oh no, I don't need any help. I don't need any counseling or whatever. And a lot of times our kids grow up that way as well, thinking they don't need to talk to anyone. But we as adults have to show them that that's okay to do. So if you ever get an opportunity to see that, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Antoine. And the last thing I have, it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and I know we represented them, but I have an opportunity to say what I would like, and I want to just say something about it. I represent all children, but today I will be the voice of Hispanic students and their families, about 40% plus of our students. I want to say felicidades during Hispanic Heritage Month to the students and population and families that are part, like 60% of our 103 students. And I heard this afternoon that that's still growing and waiting for the other numbers to come out. We are continually growing. I never want to overlook the impact of anyone's culture. And you hear me say a lot about cultural awareness. Well, in Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to bring to your mind that the language alone, the Hispanic language, has impacted our community and our English culture. When you think about the words that we use that are actually derivatives of Spanish words, cafeteria, patio, plaza, Florida, bonita, embargo, breeze, all are Spanish words that we use every day that are English words. So I say that to say the rich heritage of our community and the cultures that we have all have a part in making us who we are. And I'm honored to speak as the voice of that 40%. And again, felicidades, if I could say it, to the students and families of our Hispanic culture that are an integral part of our Lee County School District. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens, and that was very nice. Thank you. Ms. Vaughn?
Thank you. First, I would like your permission to ask Ms. Giovanelli something, please.
Yes, please.
Who was the person that, or organization that went out to the schools?
Oh, it was,
Was it a representative of an organization or?
no, well, that actually went to school was a parent. Her name was Leslie Thaggart. It's not a parent, it's a grandmother or something. It was just a community member and her son that actually went to the schools. But I didn't bring up that earlier, you weren't here. Joseph Coalfield has been the one supplying the Constitution booklets. I think that's what you're asking.
No, Yeah, no, I know about those, and actually I wasn't able to come this afternoon, but I did watch the whole, I watched the whole meeting. I know about the copies. I was just curious about who it was and how, I mean, I think it's wonderful when the community participates, but I always have a worry on how the presentations were vetted prior to that. I just had a concern.
Can I?
Sure, that's what I wanted to know.
Go ahead.
She worked through the superintendent's office and staff, and
Okay.
they worked it all out. So I put them in contact with them, and they all worked it out. But she just reported back how wonderful, and actually had kudos about the staff that she was dealing with and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I just didn't know that she had worked through the superintendent, and I always have a worry about that. We don't want anything falling through the loop. But thank you for sharing that, and I'm sure the kids enjoyed it. Okay, so speaking of Mrs. Giovanelli, she already talked about Acceleration Academies, but it's something that's been near and dear to my heart. Probably a little less time because I haven't been on the board quite as long, but at least for 3 years. I do want to reiterate a couple things that she said. First of all, emphasizing what Mrs. Giovanelli said, this is a program that does not pull from our school district. Again, these are young people that have, for whatever reason, dropped out of public school in Lee County, or they could have relocated here as dropouts from another district, but as long as they are, I believe it's 21 or under, and as long as they're eligible for services, they are eligible for Acceleration Academies. And this is not something we're paying them to do. This is something, I believe it's 90% of the state money that goes, FTE, that goes to the education of our students, goes to Acceleration Academy, but we get 10%. So it's a win for us as a district. It's a big win, a huge win for the young people who decide to go back and get their actual diplomas. And it's a huge win for the community in general, because the more high school graduates we have in our county or in any county, it lifts up the number of people who participate in civic activities. It helps on so many different levels. And the diploma is particularly important. I mean, it's get a GED if that's the time that you have or whatever the circumstances are. However, you can't even join the military with a GED. So there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of doors that are closed to young people who don't have an actual high school diploma. So yay, and I'm so happy to welcome Acceleration Academies. I wasn't able to come this afternoon to the meeting, but I did watch the entire meeting. Proximity plan is something near and dear to my heart. I think I've mentioned this in the past. It predates the time I was even elected to the school board. I don't know that it was called proximity plan then, but one of the first things I did the first time I ran for school board, which I was unsuccessful, it was 2016, was look into why don't we have neighborhood schools here in Lee County. I was so used to, not only in my own teaching experience, but my children's teaching experience, their school experiences. And so I knew on so many levels the benefit of trying to bring these schools closer to the homes. And of course, Most of you probably know the history of how school choice began, something that I learned when I moved here, which was a little bit shocking, but I've gotten used to that idea, and happy that it has worked so well for so long and given the parents and the student opportunity for choice. And as you heard in the presentation today, there is still going to be an opportunity for choice. There are just some different parameters with that. And it always interests me, the part about grandfathering, and yeah, that's going to be an issue, and there's going to be a lot of people jumping into that. But the best comment I heard, and actually I'm not trying to pick on Mrs. Giovanelli, but I think you said it's for the benefit, and others said it also, but it's about the kids. It's all about the kids, and we want them and the parents to feel like they have a home school that really is in their home and not home area and not 20 miles away. And of course the whole issue with the buses, and we all know that it is not in the best interest of children to ride a bus for an hour and a half or more. They get to school exhausted or half awake because they've been sleeping, and so every one of these discussions on proximity schools I'm very interested in, and I'm sure that, no, I'm positive that I will be following along even after my time on the board expires in a couple months. I want to compliment Academic Services for working out what I consider to be kind of a compromise solution on the books and checking out books from our school libraries. I know we're going to get more information about it, but we did get an email outlining what was going to happen. Those of you who are regulars here know that this is a topic that also kind of rings the bell for me on this, and most of you know my stance on all of this, and so I can live with what Academic Services worked out, and I think it's a compromise, and I think it's a good compromise. Now, it sounded like Pastor Roper didn't like it, or at least he hasn't had a time to really do a deep dive in it and wanted something more specific. And so, you know, I'm going to have a whole lot more time on my hands to do volunteer work once I'm done with my school board term in a couple months. So this is what I'm going to do. I will volunteer, just me. I don't care how many hours it takes. I'll tag the books. I'll tag Worm Loves Worm, that primary school book that adults see in one way and children see in another way. I'll be happy to tag all of them. Now, I'm just going to guess that Mr. Roper and others, and hi out there, Jamie, that Mr. Roper and others,
Ms. Vaughn,
would not be, I'm sorry,
yeah, please.
Excuse me, I broke a rule. That Mr. Roper and others won't be happy with that, and let me make my point about it. Putting specific warnings or whatever it is on book titles, it's very, very subjective. So my question is, if that is even considered And again, I think Academic Services did a wonderful job in coming up with a plan that does not, as Dr. Bernier say, involve having to know specific book titles, but just to say certain topics, no. And the librarians will know when these books are checked out, if they are on this particular topic list. And so I used myself somewhat facetiously as someone who probably can find better use for my time than tagging the books, but it's still out there, to illustrate the point of how subjective that is. And if you go online and you look at different book titles, there are going to be some book titles that have won all kinds of awards, have been Newbery winners for the younger children, Caldecott winners, that probably would not fall under a book that some of you as parents and community members would approve of. And that's totally your right as a parent. That's what you do. That's what you should do. These are the things I think you should be reading. These are the things that maybe when you're a little bit older. I'm not arguing that. But I'm going to go on the record as saying I think Academic Services did a great job. And I think to go further than that would be a huge mistake for our district. And I want to remind everybody how subjective that really is. Thank you for indulging me. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Ms. Morgan, please.
I have no board member comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And I am going to, Christopher? Just push that button.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep, it's on.
Okay.
Yep.
Just before I give out any comments, I just wanted to thank the board members and the superintendent for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. It's always a pleasure to represent the SAC committee as a student representative at the board meetings. I think it's a really exciting opportunity just to learn more about what members of the community have to say about maybe any issues that are happening in the district or maybe any comments or suggestions they want to make to the board members. One thing I really wanted to point out was what Ms. Gittins had to say about Hispanic Heritage Month and how she is the voice of the 40% of students that are of Hispanic descent in our county. Personally, I am a Hispanic American and I am a Lee County student, and I would like to say that I believe it's really important that maybe as part of the education that we have in our county that we include something that has to do with learning more about the different cultures that are in our society, because I want to say that maybe I was raised under Mexican culture, but being able to come to a Lee County school and learn about the different cultures that are there from the different backgrounds of students that are there. Like I'm friends with different, let me rephrase that. I'm friends with maybe people of Asian descent, of African American descent, Hawaiians, Native Americans, and just learning from their experiences and their backgrounds really was able to teach me more about sorry, I'm losing my sense of thought here. Just, it was able to teach me more about our society and how we should, and how diverse it is, and I think that's just something that we should be teaching the children that come through our school district and grow to be adults. I think that's something that could really help out when children go through school, they become an adult, and then they start the rest of their life. That could be something that they could carry with them that would be really helpful. Another thing I would like to point out about safety and security, although I wasn't at this high school, I'm from Bonita Springs High, but the incident that happened at South Fort Myers, with what I believe was a threat that a student had made, I think also it's really important that our students really know about the importance of safety and like the consequences that happen if maybe someone makes a threat to a school as a joke, because it's not right. And speaking from personal experience, this was a couple months ago. I don't remember who the student was, but a student at my school had made a shooting threat. And I had found this out the night before it was supposed to happen, and I was just really terrified because I wasn't sure if this was actually something that was going to happen, and I was still expected to go to school tomorrow. So would I be coming to school expecting maybe to lose my life that day? And so that's just something, and that's something that no student should ever have to go through. This shouldn't even be an issue that centers around students. So another thing that I'd like to add about this is that I believe that a lot of the different actions, like involving threats that that students make, it has to do with the social environments that they are around, because maybe an example could be peer pressure. Maybe a group of friends told this specific person, hey, let's do this as a joke, and then maybe they felt pressure too in order to fit in with this specific group of people. And so I would like to say that that in order to deal with the issue of safety and security, like in the students, we have to dive down to the roots, like figuring out the social environment that the students are in during the school day, because the different environments are different from elementary school, middle school, and high school. And speaking from the different environments I've seen in my high school, I think this should be something that maybe the teachers or the parents should speak about with their students and their children, because it could really make a difference in that sense. And I'm hopefully, if I can say this, this is a comment to our superintendent. Seeing as this is your first year with our district, I really hope that your vision for the year and your goals center around improving our education for our students and for my education, since I still have remaining 2 years before I graduate from the Lee County School District and I go on to university. And I would just really hope, and I would really like to think that those next 2 years really helped me in developing as a person, my maturity, and so on. And as my final comment, if I'm allowed to, I would like to just thank everyone who was here tonight, and just here, especially the ones who spoke out during public comments. I would like to say that it was really well that you guys found an issue that you're passionate about, that you feel needs to be addressed, and just coming here tonight and speaking your mind, I think it's a really good thing to do, and that a lot of people should be doing that. It has to do with something I learned in middle school. It was, I don't know if you know about it, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. One of them was finding your voice. And so just seeing people like you guys stepping up to the podium, speaking your minds, I really think that more people should be doing that, especially our students, because I really think that could improve a lot of things. And thank you.
I should have spoke first, because you're not going to follow you. No, thank you so much, Christopher, for being here, and your comments and what you spoke on really hits the heart. Yeah, especially when you're talking about the schools and safety. So I've been running around town a lot lately and talking to people, and that conversation used to come up. And again, earlier today, I thanked Dr. Bernier for putting out those messages to our families, because when we are out there and you're speaking, people are like, yeah, we normally do speak to our children. However, tonight we really sat down and had that conversation, which hit home because of what you just said. Tomorrow, what am I supposed to do? Or Monday, what am I supposed to do? So I really appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate Dr. Bernier going out there and doing that. And then also I wanted to say too, with Ms. Gittens had mentioned Hush, the show of Hush. I was able to attend that as well. And when you're listening to this, it was very deep, and you're listening to the words, like you're saying, speak your truth, and just saying, you know, I see you, and knowing, as I'm sitting there listening to this whole thing, it's like, how do I become a better person? How do I become a better mother, grandmother, whatever that looks like? And, whew. You're good, you just like, but, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. He's in my head now. I can't do this. But I did see the ESPN. I did see that, Ms. Gittens. I seen it, and then we sat in a car for half an hour, then we came back out, then we sat in a car for half an hour, then we came out, because the lightning was lightning. It was lightning all around. Finally, I did go home. My grandson stayed. He said it was an excellent game, so he was excited about being there. It was good to see the how everybody came around to get to be engaged and to support the schools. And I just think that that's really good. And all of us, how we all go to the schools and support, you know, our teachers, our teams, everything about just being out there in the community. So thank you all for that. And with that, I'm going to go to Mr. Pri Bruno.
I just want to say thank you, Christopher, for the comments. They were really good. It reminds us why we do what we do. So thank you very much for that reminder.
Dr. B.
Christopher, very well said. We'll always remember each other's first names. But the additional burden that you placed upon me for the next 2 years is not taken lightly on my behalf. That's exactly what we want to see you do. We want to continue to see you and your fellow students continue to grow academically, but we also want you to see you mature and be prepared for your future. When I shake your hand in a couple of years as you cross the stage and I say, what are you doing on Monday? It could be taking a nap because you're going off to the university. It could be that you're headed straight into work. But we need to make sure that all of our students have those options. And I appreciate your comments today, not only about that particular issue, but also about school safety, which is where I'll close up tonight. I wanted to just take an opportunity to remind the board that today you changed LAMP, the Mothers Program, to the Lee Adolescent, from the Lee Adolescent Mothers Program to the Young Parent Education Program. I know it's just a name change, but it's so much more than that. It accurately reflects the young people we're now serving there. I believe he stepped out. Mark Graves was here earlier. He's already on the ground with Acceleration Academy. They're already seeking spots, and they are getting prepared for at least an early January opening. So not only did the contract move as you expected, but the organization is also moving as well. Want to remind and thank anybody who was standing in line with me last evening, as well as some of our board members, our school counselors, as well as all the other individuals responsible for helping create the college fair at Suncoast. Again, these were part of my comments this afternoon, but I think it's really important to recognize our great partner that we have in Suncoast Credit Union and how much they help us make things like this happen. Constitution Day, I think you basically covered it all except for some numbers that I was asked for. I would like to thank Leslie Thagard, Representative Byron Daniels, and Joseph Cofield. Between those three individuals, we provided over 7,000 of these, they're still the same document, 7,000 of these documents to our 6th through 12th graders. And then Mr. Cofield has a very direct connection and a desire to make sure that our elementary students have an additional booklet related to the Constitution. And the week, including Founders Week, which we're coming up to, is always spent with the rights and responsibilities of a citizen. We are given amazing rights within this country, but we also have responsibilities to step to the fore. And I think that's where I'll go with school safety. It is a right to go to school. It's a responsibility to ensure that it's a safe place. We had 2 incidents last week, one at one of our middle schools in Lehigh Acres, as well as the incident at South Fort Myers High School. I want to thank in both cases the work of the sheriff's deputies and the SROs that were present at both of those campuses and their quick action. We are deeply indebted to your service to this community. The other piece that I would like to remind the community, especially considering South Fort Myers High School, and I just want to clarify this, it was not a student prank. It is a national epidemic of what they call swatting or hoax phone calls. Denver, Colorado was in the midst of it on Monday. I've not yet received any report nationwide, but the FBI is currently investigating 31 separate situations like occurred at Fort Myers High School. A false 911 call is called in with a school address, alerting local law enforcement to an active shooter. I appreciate the Sheriff's Department. I would say the same with Cape Coral or our other agencies like out on Sanibel or at Fort Myers. They don't call to ask questions. They don't call to see whether it's true or not. They move. And within 2 short minutes, help was on the way, unfortunately for a situation that we didn't need help with because there was nothing on campus. However, that response and knowing that our community is being well served and our children have a police force that will respond like that is incredibly important. Cape reached out, Fort Myers reached out, Collier County reached out, Charlotte County reached out, because they all wanted to make sure that if we needed any additional support, they were ready to come as well. It's just completely unfortunate that we live in a society where phone calls like this can be generated to 31 separate school systems, either testing the safety of our environment or attempting to erode our belief that our children are safe. I'm so proud of not only the school, but also of the deputies and the members who responded to our situation. But I would share with Christopher's comments today, we also have a responsibility. The Lamb situation was very different. I want our children to have a conversation with their parents, and from the afternoon session, I will work with our Student Services Division to get some additional information out to parents. But we need to make sure that students are taught 3 things. 1, if they see something or they hear about something, they need to say something. And then here's the big piece for us as adults. We have to protect the information we receive so that it never climbs back to them, because that is how we run a safe learning environment, where a student like Christopher feels safe coming forward, knowing that he can provide the information, but not have to live with any long-term repercussions of meeting his responsibility and his obligation to create a safe space. So thank you for those comments today, very well taken, and appreciate the board and all the work that we've done. And for the community and for the board, we will do both a shaded as well as a public accounting as best we can publicly, but we are continuing to look at all options based around both incidents, and there will be a team meeting on Thursday, which is an interagency debriefing, where we will get information not only from local law enforcement, but the other first responders, members of the administrative team from the school will be present. We'll have a chance to do a deep dive, and we'll make sure the board and the public are updated appropriately. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for a great board meeting tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. The next scheduled meetings of the board: on Wednesday, September 28th, there will be a board workshop at 12 p.m. On Tuesday, October 4th, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m., followed by a regular meeting at 6. At this point, having no other business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned, and the time is 7:38.